Good morning and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today at the webinar, Take Your Maintenance Program from a Cost Center to a Revenue Driver in Under 30 Days. My name is Vicki. I'll be your host today. With us today, we have two awesome speakers, Austin Breshears, a Maintenance Director at Chick-fil-a, and Gary Wood, a Senior Implementation Manager here at UpKeep. So we're here to be interactive. You'll see that there's a chat area. There's also a questions area. We want to hear from you. So please reach out to us in the chat and the questions. And without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Austin.
Hello. First of all, thank you all for joining us today to hear how UpKeep has changed my maintenance role and my everyday life. My name is Austin Breshears, and I have been a user of UpKeep for about 4 years as part of Chick-fil-a, where I'm the maintenance director for multiple store locations. As mentioned before, UpKeep has not only changed my maintenance role, but has actually even changed my life. Imagine having several thousand parts spread between your garage, multiple store locations, and multiple vehicles without any real way to track those parts. Continue to imagine when you need a part and you know you have it, but you have no clue where it is, and that downtime that comes from searching for that part. Not only is that downtime a factor, but the stress is too for needing to get this valuable piece of equipment up and running. Well, that was me 4 years ago. This is what my vehicle looked like 4 years ago. It stressed me out every single time getting into the vehicle. I would see the mess, and that mess is associated with that stress. I couldn't find parts. I was having an issue with that. I didn't have a store location to have all my parts in. So again, it was just spread out between multiple places. I'd actually even go order parts because I didn't know what I had on stock, or I couldn't find the part that I thought I had. So this increased that downtime in searching for the part, but also increased the additional cost if I'm ordering parts that I may actually already have on stock. Again, it would just stress me out from having to spend what seemed like hours looking for a part between the garage, the vehicles, and the store locations. My boss actually told me that I was the most disorganized person he had ever met. But not only was I actually having an issue with my parts inventory management, I was having an issue keeping track of my repairs that needed done in the stores. I tried remembering what I had to do every day that I came into work, but as we all know, you tend to forget tasks like that. And that just makes you look really unprofessional. So I turned then to writing them down, but when I was working on a machine, I wasn't able to stop what I was doing to write that down. Someone had just told me something had broke. I could be working on a machine with oil all over my hands, and someone comes up telling me that the faucet won't work. I turned then to the paper request forms and told the team to go write it down for me on the form. And this worked for a while, but again, I wasn't able to track all that work performed, or again, how did I solve that parts inventory management that I was having here? So I needed something that really helped me get organized and prove to my boss that I wasn't that disorganized person he had ever met, and get systems in place in order to help me along the way. So that's when I began to looking into a maintenance platform that checked just those two boxes of parts inventory management and something to keep track of my repairs. I honestly didn't have to look too far until I found UpKeep. I started with the demo trial and really fell in love instantly. It not only checked my boxes for parts inventory management, and the maintenance requests, which is what you see here, someone requesting like to be repaired. But it also dove into asset management, data analysis, and so much more than that. I was able to talk to my boss, and they agreed for the basic monthly subscription that UpKeep has to offer. And I knew it was on me to make sure I used it at the best potential and that the store was getting what they had paid for. My boss actually noticed right away that things were getting done in a timely manner. And I was getting most, if not all, of my work order requests that were submitted done done quickly. All of them was getting done. As you can see, I have multiple work orders that get submitted every day, 15 plus. It just depends on what's going on just at one store location. I was able to get that system in place and prioritize what needed done even before coming into work. It has given me more clarity in my work because team members can actually submit pictures. As you can see here, they can submit the pictures with the work orders to show me exactly what they are talking about. And if I had questions about the work order, I could actually see who submitted the request and go talk to them and see exactly what was going on. And going along with that, when they submit the work orders, as soon as they submit it from whatever device they're using, laptop, phone, iPad, whatever it may be, you actually get the service tech like myself gets that notification instantly. So you can be on my, for myself, I can be on a yearly beach vacation and know exactly what's going on with all the maintenance back at the stores. So then I can prioritize when I get back to the stores, all the work orders and set my days accordingly. And so just in that instance alone, I found the value in UpKeep. But however, the value in UpKeep continued to show itself time and time again. I had a few issues along the way, but rest assured, I called UpKeep customer support and was met with enthusiastic voice on that early Monday morning that I had called. And they were able to walk me through my issue with quick customer service and a friendly tone, and something that matters to me coming from that Chick-fil-A world. So while I had set my UpKeep account up by myself, I soon found out that UpKeep had a dedicated team to help set up your account. So I got involved with Henry at UpKeep, and he was able to, under his instruction, I was able to set up my parent assets and child assets is what you can see here, so I can better utilize the app. So now I'm able to track not only our fryer issues, but I can track, say, our pump issue, where so it's indirect to any other fryer issue, as the clogs in our lines in the pump system are actually our most reoccurring maintenance orders submitted. And in relation to our fryers and multiple other machines throughout our store and any other maintenance implementation, there are preventive maintenance that needed done every month, every quarter, every year, whatever it may be. So I was able to, under Henry's direction, go back here. Under Henry's direction, he helped me set up some key dates in order to generate those work orders. And so now I'm never missing a preventive maintenance item like I had before using UpKeep. This again was reducing the downtime associated with the machines that I had, because I was able to keep up with everything, do the systems that had now been in place. I can actually take this information and look back on all these work orders as part of the analytics of UpKeep that we use. So I can look back and see the costs associated with each of these assets that's costing the company money. And this is crucial in my world because Chick-fil-A corporate will actually replace any one of our equipment if I keep having the same issue over and over again. But I do have to show that time associated with it, what repairs were done with it, and the costs associated with it. So now with UpKeep, I'm able to give that information quickly and accurately as well. And UpKeep allows me to go back and check all that information. And within that asset management, I'm actually even able to put in serial numbers and model numbers. So there's no more having to pull a critical piece of machine in the middle of a lunch and give it to another service tech or whoever that asking party is. But I even continue to grow as UpKeep grows. I mean, UpKeep is still fairly new. I think 5 or 6 years now that UpKeep's been around, and just in this year alone, I've been able to. Sorry, let me go back. I keep growing as UpKeep grows. I actually began to slowly put all my parts into the inventory here. And I was actually able to soon take a phone call from my boss's boss asking me if I had a part on stock at 10 o'clock at night for another store location. So within seconds, I was able to pull up my UpKeep app on my phone and search for that part. And I instantly was able to see that I had it on stock. I was able to see how many I had and that cost associated with that part. 4 years ago, I would have had to tell my boss, look, I'll go in the morning, it's 10 o'clock at night. I don't want to drive out right now. Or I had to drive out there at 10 o'clock at night and find that part. And that's if I knew where it was. I mean, again, I can spend hours looking for it. I just didn't have that system in place. And so just this year alone, I've actually been blessed to meet more of the team, like Vicky here and Gary and Ryan, the CEO, and Steve and Henry, and so much more. This team has actually worked hard with me in order to show how UpKeep can better be utilized in all the maintenance implications that every system has. I'm actually the admin on Chick-fil-a maintenance page with 3,500 followers and growing every single day. We have been able to show those followers how UpKeep can make an impact. I don't have to stress about downtime. And actually a saying that came from our last webinar with the Chick-fil-a maintenance page was create more time and less downtime. That idea that you're able to create more time for yourself. I'm no longer spending hours looking for a part or creating a list of what my next day might look like and all for it to change because I get to the store and the machine's now down that I didn't know about because I didn't get that instant notification from the team. I was stuck using those paper forms. So I have more time now because I'm able to know exactly what my day is going to look like tomorrow and the next day and so on. So needless to say, UpKeep and the team at UpKeep has allowed me to show my boss that I'm now organized. I'm able to, the UpKeep has actually was a catalyst in order for me to get all my parts in order together and get organized. I'm no longer that disorganized person he had ever met. It's given me more time to spend with my family because I'm not, I'm not spending hours looking for a part, or I'm able to get my work even done sooner because I have that system in place and know exactly where parts are and know exactly what needs to be done day in, day out, because I'm able to set it up. It's reduced my stress because now my vehicles aren't looking like that they did before. I know exactly, like I said, I know exactly what's going on in the store. But UpKeep's so much more than a tool for me. It had become my way of work. I actually don't start my day now until I begin hitting that timer button on the work order and begin tracking my time spent on repairs. I'm now moved up in a tier from the basic package from UpKeep to the professional package as I continue to find the value in UpKeep. So I want to challenge you all to think of an area you are struggling with for your maintenance issues, because UpKeep can most likely help you find a solution as it has for me. It's helped me get systems in place in order to be more productive at my work. So to go further on how you can best use UpKeep, I'll pass it over to Gary now.
Hey, Austin, thank you so much for that, man. Hey, truly inspiring story for all you viewers out there, man. How to go from, changing his boss's attitude towards him of being one of the messiest people that he's ever known to one of the most efficient you could ever be. So, hey, to everybody out there, appreciate that, Austin. Awesome story, man. Love it. Really love it. Love Chick-fil-A as well. My name's Gary Wood. I am a senior implementation manager here at UpKeep. And I'm going to talk about key considerations and best practices when going into an implementation, right? Some of the stuff that Austin had to sit back and say, okay, what do I need to do to make UpKeep even better for me, right? So he reaches out to the team, and my good friend Henry helped him import all his assets, his locations, his PMs and everything. Now he's well-rounded. He's got a very good system that he can work through. So we mobilize and modernize maintenance software with the product depth to support enterprises, right? We have a great mobile application. You can work through work order management, asset management, parts inventory, and purchase orders. Okay, you can even monitor some remote condition monitoring, with the edge platform and the vibration sensors, temperature sensors, all of these facets that are under the UpKeep umbrella, so to speak. So, but yeah, and speaking on that, like Austin did in his story, he had to understand his why, his why. Why did he need UpKeep? For one, he needed organization. Okay. He needed more boundaries around work orders or requests, right? He needed more data to be held somewhere without post-it notes or work order paper requests or just word of mouth requests. So now when we type those in and we pull them into the UpKeep account, they're there. They're going to stay there. So now he has a list to go by, and he understood his why he needed to change things. And, sometimes we all have to do that. We have to sit back and say, why do I need UpKeep, right? And from there, then you move forward with the best application for your organization. Then you have to evaluate your needs now and in the future, okay? Now I may start out much like Austin did. I may start out with the demo package, right? And just get in there and put all my data in there, see how it works, see how the functionality is, right? And then grow from there. So now I think from what it looked like in Austin's application, it looks like he may be in a professional or even a B+ plan. So he's gone from demo into a better plan, and he's got better tracking. He's got better parts inventory. He spoke on the analytics. The analytics, you can track anything within UpKeep, okay? Build your asset management KPIs, build your parts and inventory KPIs, labor management, asset downtime, PM compliance, you name it. Those analytics will help you save on that bottom dollar. That's what it's all about, right? And I'm sure Austin's doing very good in that area as well. So we got to look at ourselves, how we want to start and where do we want to be, okay? And that's one of the, some of the top considerations with switching to a SaaS environment. I know there's a lot of pushback, especially from my friends in manufacturing. We've not kept up with the technological trend over the last 10 to 15, 20 years maybe. So, they're not in line with spending this money on a CMMS application or an asset operations application and going, and putting this money elsewhere. Any CMMS system, especially UpKeep, will save you money, bottom dollar by monitoring, equipment that Austin even mentioned. He said, if an asset is continuously giving me problems, corporate will replace that machinery in no time, okay? Well, if you don't have an application to help you track that, okay, it's hard to replace it because you don't have that analytical data there to show proof that this asset is a reoccurring issue, okay? So you got to look at where you want to be in the future. And also, is your maintenance team ready for change? Okay, you gotta listen to your maintenance guys. Okay, these guys are the ones they're boots on the ground, as I say. They're the ones that's doing the work. They're the ones that's like Austin. He wanted to change the way he was doing things, right? So he said, "Hey, this is enough. I'm ready to change. Let's go and evaluate something here." And he pulled UpKeep in. And now I'm sure he's got more time with his family. He's more organized. And not only that, Chick-fil-A is probably getting a lot more profitable in that area where Austin's at now, okay? Because he's saving the company money by utilizing UpKeep to track these assets and work orders. So in my experience, okay, I've had 26 years of manufacturing experience. I've been working in CMMS systems for, I guess it's somewhere around 8 years. Some of my best practices for successful implementation, okay? These are not really, it's listed 1, 2, 3, but it's not really, something precisely in this order. These are the three top catchers for me. Okay. One, team buy-in. You've got to have a team buy into the system that you're wanting to bring into your organization and function in. Okay. Like Austin, he bought into UpKeep, man. He went to that demo and he worked it. Okay. He gave it some tough challenges to see what it was about. And in the end, he bought into UpKeep and now he's doing awesome. Okay. So team buy-in is most critical, especially guys. We all know this. I've been around manufacturing for a few years. Those older guys, okay, we really need to buy in from these guys. Okay. They're the ones with the knowledge. They've been in these organizations for years and years, and they have the knowledge of getting things done quickly. Just imagine them doing it quickly with an application like UpKeep. It would be phenomenal. Okay. Second of all, it's data collection. Make sure you have your data readily available. Not typically set up in an Excel format or anything of that nature, but at least have your data where you can have it accessible to when you get into implementation and we land in meeting one of implementation and you're like, hey, Gary, I've got this data here. Will this work? We put it in our template, stretch it out, look at it. Yeah, this is great. Okay. It's a little difficult when you come into implementation meetings and you don't have data or you don't know where to get data. Okay. Or you're having a hard time getting up with a previous legacy CMMS system that had your data. So data collection is pretty pivotal when going into a new application for implementation. And last and not least, proper training for admins and technicians. Okay. We got the buy-in from everybody. Okay. We've gone through data collection, we're implemented and all that. Now we need to train everybody, right? Just like Austin. Austin, I'm sure you went through like a team training with Henry, right? And, where you understood more of the system, more of the complexities of how to draw down analytics and things of that nature. So proper team training for admins and technicians to help them be even more successful in the UpKeep application and to, kind of stretch some future projects and initiatives in there. You may want to bring purchase orders in with vendor procurement and things like that, where you can, order parts and all that out of the UpKeep application. So, yeah, absolutely proper training for admins and technicians, data collection, and team buy-in. Three of the biggest things that stand out to me when I'm implementing a client. I'm sure Austin was pretty much close to all of these points here. I know he came on, it's not been too long ago, and he's already functional and UpKeep and everything. So I'm pretty sure it was a successful implementation on Austin's end. So with that being said, Vicki, that's all I have today. I think Austin's story was great. It really tells the story on how to get UpKeep in your organization and really be more efficient, more cost effective, and just better all the way around. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Austin. So we do have some questions. I'd like to start with a very specific one. Rob asked, Austin, with many refrigeration compressors in a store, are the PMs managed in UpKeep and the work performed by a contractor? Austin, I know you answered this directly, but would you mind sharing your answer with the group?
Yeah. So I do keep track of all my preventive maintenance, whether it might be refrigeration or anything associated with it. For instance, we had one of our freezers go down. And I was tracking that. I was tracking that downtime associated with that. Within UpKeep, I can see who a vendor is in order to fix that, or a contractor in order to fix that. So I know who to call to fix it. Ended up being down for a few weeks. That ended up being a compressor issue. Ended up being down for a few weeks. And Chick-fil-a actually replaced it because I was able to show them that, hey, we did these PMs, but we had this issue, hey, like the compressor got cleaned, but we still had this issue. So I do definitely keep track of all the preventive maintenance across the board in UpKeep. And then I'm actually able to follow up and make sure it got done. So not necessarily me calling the vendor or the contractor like, hey, it's time for you preventive maintenance. But I'm able to actually go back and check and make sure it got done through that. And UpKeep is helping me keep track of that information.
Thank you so much, Austin. I have another question, and keep those questions coming in, from Robert about how long does it take to implement a CMMS program, assuming that there was no previous work for a CMMS for a mid-sized manufacturer. Gary, I think we're looking at you.
Yeah, it would depend on these three variables. How much data do they have, right? Not coming from a previous CMMS, that tells me you've been in paper for a little while. You may have stuff in folders or booklets, as we called them back in the day, that had a list of or copies of assets and their serial numbers, make, model, manufacturer, so forth, so on. So it would really depend on how much of that you have, how quickly you could get that into an Excel format, so we can pull that into our templates for import. So, and also it will depend on how you said mid-market manufacturing. So it would depend on, how broad and how many, the numerical number of assets you have. If you're talking, a couple of hundred to 1,000 or 2,000, it wouldn't be that bad. But once you get above 5,000, it could be pretty lengthy.
Okay. So Gary, we talked in the webinar title about how we're helping folks go from a cost center to revenue driver in about 30 days. Can you share a little bit about just like an overview of how we get folks started? Like, what does that process look like?
Yeah. So first thing you do, you can go to onupkeep.com. You can grab a demo, sign up for a demo account and start working it. Eventually, our people will reach out to you. Hey, is UpKeep maybe something you want to explore, bringing into your organization? You guys go through discussions with sales, and once you decide, yes, UpKeep is for me, much like Austin done, then they reach out to to one of the implementation managers. Okay. And you go through these implementation phases with us. Like phase one would be the kickoff call. That's where we kind of get introduced to each other, and we give a high level view of what UpKeep can do for you, what is involved in the implementation phases, and any requirements. We get prepared for the requirements portion. Phase two is the requirements phase. Okay, that's where we roll our sleeves up. We get our hands dirty, right? And we go through each step of the requirements process that you need your CMMS to work like. What functionalities, what workflows, what system configurations, all the dynamics in the system that you need to portray. And then you go into the implementation phase, and that's where we gather data. Okay, we put it in our templates, we import it, we migrate it in. We may do some adjustments. We may have to, work some naming conventions in or things like that. And once that is completed, we test it with you. We'll have a Zoom call, and we'll go through a test where we test the work order, test the bones of that system, the assets and locations, to make sure that parts and PMs and work orders and everything else, meters and all that, map in the system together as they should. Okay. And after that, you go to your customer success manager, and off you go, much like Austin, man, looking all organized and efficient and saving the company money, and and that's the high level view of an implementation.
Thank you so much, Gary. So Austin, coming back to you, the question is around like how much time would you say it takes you to kind of maintain your system? You talked about pulling assets, you talked about how you've pulled time and data to justify a replacement. How much time would you say you're spending maintaining your system now that you have it up and running?
Now it's not much at all. I'm actually put in all my costs associated with my parts. It does take a little bit in order to put all the parts in. Again, I have thousands of parts that I keep on stock. just for our fryers and refrigerators and whatever else that might be, bun toasters. But it does take a while for me to set it up. But once all that's in, it takes care of itself. I mean, I'm able to order a part, and right there I can renew a part, replenish a part just by clicking a button. It's pretty simple. With work orders, I'm able just to click a couple buttons. I mean, that's all it really is. It's not much at all to keep up with it once it's up and running.
Awesome. Thank you, Austin. Going back to Gary. Gary, you talked about those veteran techs and how it's sometimes hard to get them bought in. The question is, what are some good practical first steps that you can take to get those veterans using the system?
The older guys, they're tricky. You know, they want to hold on to the knowledge. They think that technology is trying to replace them. Okay, the first thing you have to do is just guarantee them that's not the case. You know, we just want to track their knowledge into the CMMS system for the day when the day comes that they retire. Right? There's such a commodity in our organizations. We don't want to lose those guys, right? We sure don't want to lose the knowledge that they have. So, you know, capturing some of that, you're not going to capture all their knowledge, you know, but to capture a good portion of their knowledge and be able to put it in the CMMS system and be able to put descriptions on how we fix this issue, how did we troubleshoot it, how did we find it, and things like that. To be able to put that into the updates or the description on the repairs within the work order gives us a little piece of that knowledge, right? So you just have to guarantee them they're not replaceable. They're not. I mean, a CMMS, there's not a CMMS around that I would replace my oldest maintenance techs with. No way, no how. Okay? It's just helping us to retain some of your knowledge. Okay, and that's what it's all about.
And I'm going to add on that I did have an issue between some store locations of them not using UpKeep. I couldn't get them to put it into the system. I was having that issue, and so you know I'm again walking in and hey Austin, this is the issue, or hey you're calling me, which is fine, but I'm not able to track that. So is what we've done. We've actually had multiple iPads, you know, the desktops, and even on their phones. We had the team install UpKeep on their phone. And now my boss just last night submitted a work order from his house because now he has that on his phone. So it's implementing and making sure everyone has that system, everyone's on the same page. But you know, if they don't have it on their phone, then it's hard for them to, you know, 10 o'clock at night, oh, hey, I got to tell Austin this. Whereas now they have that, they can submit it, it's done, it's taken care of.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, speaking on that too, Austin, you know, some of these older gentlemen, you know, my uncle, for example, down in Alabama, he don't have a smartphone. You know, these older guys like the old flip phones, right? So, you know, if you have an older gentleman that, you know, let's say you purchased iPads like you say you guys done for these gentlemen to use, don't just hand it to him and say, use this. Put one of these younger guys with him that understands the technology of smartphones and iPads and all that, and let them kind of mentor off each other, okay? The older guy's going to learn from the younger gentleman about the iPad or the technology that they're using to work within UpKeep. And then, you know, the younger guy's going to learn from the older gentleman on how to gain some of that knowledge on quickest ways to make repairs, right? So they're going to feed off each other for that. So just another touch there. Just felt I had to share that because that is another big one within manufacturing. So.
Excellent. Another question, what if I use external contractors? What are some keys for getting them onboarded and using the system?
Yeah, so is that for me, Vicki?
Why don't we start with you, and if Austin wants to add, he can.
Okay. So yeah, absolutely bring those third-party vendors in for your vendors application, right? You'll have all their contact info, everything right there with them. Now, here's the great thing about UpKeep, right? When you create this work order, this compressor's down, as Austin mentioned earlier, this compressor's down. Who do I assign to that? This worker. And guess what? An additional worker can be your vendor, your third-party vendor. Okay. So now they're assigned to that work order that work was done to, right? Not only that, once the work is completed and you get that invoice from that third-party vendor, now you can bring that invoice into that work order and track that. So every step of the process with the vendor, with your internal tech team, everything's getting tracked within UpKeep under the work order. I'll leave it to Austin.
Yeah, and that's exactly that. Again, it's once you get that invoice, you're able to track, hey, what repair was done. So even later on, it's like, oh, I had this to clean a coil. Well, hey, now I know how to do that. Hey, that's the issue I was having, and so I can better relay that to even the vendor or the contractor of, hey, we had this repair last time. Just making sure this is what I had to do. I'm able to track that cost associated with it again. That way, if you continue to have issues, you're able to track all that, and that's the biggest thing for us is just hey, you keep having this issue, something else might be going on, and that's where that third party is nice, because now you're tracking that, and you can tell the third party, hey, like, we're having this issue still, we've had it X amount of times, and you actually have something to show for it.
Historical data. Exactly.
Yep. All right. Well, everyone talked more quickly than I thought, and I just have one more question, and then we will wrap up this webinar. And that question is for Austin. Austin, what would you say has been the biggest benefit both to your company, to Chick-fil-A, and to you personally by making this change in how you work every day?
Yeah. So to me, I've started using UpKeep in a bunch of different ways more recently. But right off the bat was that parts inventory management. Again, I had things all over the place. I actually didn't realize how much I had on stock until I started putting in an UpKeep. And I just did all the pricing, and we have about $60,000 between 2 store locations just in parts inventory management within what I have. So that's been a big help there. I've been able to track that. We're only allowed a certain amount of RMs, so repairs and maintenance costs per month. So I'm able to track that of like, hey, we're getting pretty close. I might not be able to order this part that I need to get restocked. I have some on stock, but I can't order it yet. Let's wait till next month until that RM is a little bit lower. The big one that I've actually recently been doing is even keeping track of my time. I have another service tech in the area. He's charged about $100 an hour. So whereas I don't make that working for Chick-fil-A, I wish I did, but I'm able to actually track that now of the time associated with it. I actually just did a complete fryer rebuild for about $3,000 compared from my parts and my time associated with it. New fryer is about $8,000. But the other service tech would have charged about $6,000 between parts and that. So now I'm actually able to show my boss, like, hey, like, I just saved you $3,000, or if you got a new fryer, I just saved you $5,000. I'm able to show that with the analytics. And analytics is something I've just gotten into with being just now on the professional package. But that's kind of, I want to show my value. They know I'm valuable. I'm on call all the time. I actually just went in last night to do fix a ballast in the restroom. But I actually want to show that. So that's what UpKeep for me is. I'm actually able to show what I'm worth now. There's actually data there to show, like, hey, wow, you just spent 10 minutes doing that. Whereas that might cost even someone in store, someone else to do it. It might take us an hour, even cleaning. I mean, it could be, hey, I'm cleaning the floors. It takes me 20 minutes, takes this other person an hour. I'm able to show that my value there. And that's the biggest benefit for me is just showing what I'm worth.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Such a powerful statement, Austin. I want to thank everyone for coming today. I want to A million thank yous to Austin and to Gary for presenting today. I hope that you found this webinar helpful and interesting. Please reach out if you have any questions. We're going to send you the recording of this webinar very shortly. But again, thank you, Austin, so much. Thank you, Gary. And we'll conclude. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one, everybody.